Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Uncharted 4 Crushing Difficulty walkthrough, and this is chapter 8, also known as the Grave of Henry Avery. And this is also part 1 of 2. Because I decided to divide this chapter into 2 videos, and I will probably do that with some of the upcoming chapters as well. Because when I put this video into my editing software, where I also do the narrating, I realized that this video in its entirety is 45 minutes. And that is, in my opinion, a very long video. It takes quite a lot for me to watch a 45-minute video, especially if I'm watching a walkthrough. Usually, you don't watch the entire episode unless you like the channel and you like the commentary. Which I hope people do in my videos, that they don't just mute the sound and, oh, won't that guy please shut up. But it's also, if you're looking for help for a specific fight, it's easier if the videos are shorter, because then you don't have to click through a huge video and maybe you'll miss it. So I decided to divide it into 2. And we have a few seconds before the next fight coming up, so I want to talk a little bit about a mechanic in this game, and that is the AI mechanic. I think the AI mechanic at times in this game is absolutely atrocious. Which is a sad thing to say, since this is the 4th game in the series. But whether you have Sam or Sully or Elena with you, there is a problem that comes up from time to time, and it's not the fact that they are sometimes very passive and sometimes very aggressive in combat, but it is the fact that they have a tendency to at times get in your way. That is something you will see later on in this episode, which is quite fitting as I pick up the dynamite here. Because in a fight coming up, I go into the animation to throw a dynamite, and Sam manages to get in my way, so I throw it straight into his back because I was halfway through the animation when he decided to move up ahead. So that stick of dynamite lands 2 feet from my feet, and that puts me really close to death. Too close. And it also happened later on in this game. There is a fight. I can't remember which chapter it is, but it's one of, in my opinion, the hardest fights in the game. Because you are down in, I think it's not a tomb, but you have to pick one coin of a scale or something like that, and suddenly a lot of enemies show up, and it's a tight space, and they're coming in from everywhere, and there's no way to take good cover. By the way, there was a little transition there because I died. I'm gonna talk a bit more about that. And also in that fight, I always start that fight by lobbing in a few grenades. And I died numerous times just because Sam and Sully got in the way. So they landed next to my feet instead of killing enemies. So yeah. Hopefully you will not see it in the episode that made it into the guide, because then I think they actually got with the program and moved out of my way when I tried to do it. And this fight, as you saw, there was a little transition. Because when I played through this game just to beat it on crushing, I ran around this entire battlefield, was really aggressive, I hid behind that old ruin, I moved around crates. And it didn't work very well when I started my recording run. And also I realized that it wasn't a very dependent strategy. Because anyone that have watched my videos know that I try to take skill out of the equation as much I can. And what I realized was that this ledge, or this cliff I'm hanging off, is amazing. The cliffhanger strategy, not to be thought that it is the old action movie with Sylvester Stallone, directed by Rennie Harlin. Great, great movie. Or as far as action films go. Not to be confused with that. Is that ledges are amazing in this game. Most of the time. Because in a lot of the harder fights of this game, you can break it completely by hanging off a cliff. This piece right here is really great because you're in a blind angle from the right. Some enemies may be able to get 1 or 2 shots at you, but if you move further to the left, you will get out of their line of fire. And also, it's so wide, so when they throw grenades, and believe me, they will throw grenades, you have the possibility to move out of the way and not end up in the blast radius and fall to your death. So that is a technique that you will see me use quite often in this game, because since these battlefields, a lot of them are much bigger than they were in the previous games, and they are quite dynamic. And enemies will always try to flank you, they will try to move in from your sides. And there's no place here where you can just put your back against the wall. You know, wedge yourself into a corner and just bottleneck everyone that tries to attack you. That rarely happens in this game. I don't know. At top of my head, I can't think of a single instance where you can do that. But that's when cliffs come into play and ledges. So I will show you the very best places I have found throughout this game to use them to my advantage, and you should do so as well. And don't forget to restock on hand grenades before you move on. They will serve you well in I think actually it's the next fight coming up after this. And when I cut this this chapter into 2, I tried to be as is fair a correct term? I don't think it is, but I tried to make it so it is a logical cut, if that's more correct. But somewhere in the middle of this chapter, I could have done it like 22 minutes in, so I would have 2 22-minute videos. But then I would have to cut, I think, in the middle of a fight. And that would be just plain stupid. But this chapter is also one of those that is a bit slower in the pacing, or a lot of the chapters in this game are much slower paced, just to make you more bond between Nate and Sam, because as we know, Sam is a new character introduced into the series. He wasn't there in the previous installments. He was not mentioned at all during your little meeting with Marlowe in Uncharted 3, where she says that she knows everything about you. She has your entire family history. And she mentions your mother, your father, and doesn't say thing one about Sam, because he's an after construction. Is that what it's called? After construction? Who knows? Let me know in the comments. You know what I mean. But the next fight coming up is actually not a hard fight, or a very hard fight. We will start that fight off by doing some stealth takedowns, and I will do it in a very specific pattern. And that is also something I will tell you why, because it's all about taking out the first guards in a pattern so they stay hidden from the others, or you take them out so you don't have anyone overseeing them as you do. And these first guys, one of those mercenaries goes into the high grass to relieve himself a little bit, so we relieve him of his vital signs. And don't be too quick when you stealth kill the second guy. I made a borderline mistake there, because Nate tells Sam that he will take the guy on the right and Sam should take the guy on the left. And I think if you're too quick to choke out that guy, Sam will not be able to move up to the guy on the left and he will spot you and bullets will start flying. So wait a second or two before you choke him out, just so you're sure that Sam has caught up. But this is the fight I was talking about. We're first gonna do some stealth kills, and then Sam is gonna troll me by moving into my my line of fire when I try to throw a grenade. Thanks a lot, Sam. Bastard of Big Brother. But anyway, the first guy we're gonna take out is this one. So make sure you're in high grass when you take him out, so we hide the body, and keep an eye on those two guys up there on the ruins. Make sure to choke him out when you know that they have their backs turned towards you. And now we're gonna take out the guy on the right, because there is a patch of high grass right here, and there is an opportune moment to do it when he starts moving back in his patrol pattern, because the guy up on that platform, he will be facing the left, I think, when we do it. But always keep an eye on the surroundings. Move the camera around and make sure that you don't have anyone watching, because there might be a little RNG. I don't think their patrol patterns are 100% consistent. It's more like 99% consistent. But we jump up, we pull him off. Worked beautifully. And apparently in Scotland you may die if you fall over a 1 meter high little brick wall and fall into high grass. That is lethal if you've been punched in the face. Big badass mercenaries. And actually something odd happens in this fight. I'm not quite sure what the hell happened, because this guy is our next target. Keep an eye on the guy over on the right. See him right there? Make sure his back is turned before we take out this guy, and also the guys in the background. But after I've taken out him, down he goes. And he falls down behind this pillar. Can we all agree on that? He is behind the pillar. For some reason, I don't even know where his body went. It seemed to have fallen quite far back. Either way, for some reason, when I move up to choke out this guy on the right, he is a bit of the Joker in this setup, because there are a lot of enemies overlooking his position. So be very careful. Sometimes you can actually skip stealth killing this guy, which I will have to do, because that guy up there, I think it's the guy that was just in the middle of the screen. Apparently he's related to Superman, because look at this. He goes up to the ledge. He looks down, becomes aware, and suddenly he has seen the body that lies behind that pillar. And I don't completely agree with that. But anyway, if that happens, which it probably will, because things have a tendency to go wrong whenever they can. The first guy who I was going to choke out, he moved over, so Sam took him out, and one other guy jumped down. As far as I know, he is the only guy that will jump down. So fall back and wait for him to come to you. This is a great position to be in, because you are... The other guys in this area cannot fire at you, because there's too much geography and shit in the way. Of course they can throw grenades, and they are amazing at it. But the rest of these enemies will not move down from these ruins. So now we can slowly push up. Make good use of your dynamite, which I will try to do. Enemies can at times be quite good at dodging them in this game. They are not as good as they were in Uncharted 1. They are not as horrendous at it as they are in Uncharted 2 and 3. I almost said Chapter 2 and 3, but But it can be a little bit finicky to hit them with grenades. But just take it easy. Take it slowly. There is no rush to do this. Push up slowly. As you see, they are not moving up from their positions. I'm just trying to get in a position where I can hit one of them with one of my grenades. Or dynamite. Sticks of dynamite. And also, I saw there is a crate over to the right. So I think you can get a refill of dynamite if you run out. But I managed to take out one of them, I think. So now there's just this guy left. Down he goes, and we can push up further. Any day now, Nate. Also, pick up any ammo you find lying around before you push up, so you don't risk running out of it when you get up here. And also, I like staying in this window because you get a clear view of this entire old corridor. And also, you're pretty much safe from grenades. Because if they throw a grenade and it lands inside that window, just let go of the window and hang on to the ledge just beneath it, and you will be safe from it. Because that is something that is consistent throughout the Uncharted series. That if there is a piece of geography between you and the explosive, it will not kill you. And here is the part where Sam manages to get in the way. Look at this. This is absolutely horrendous. I line up, I throw it. Thank you, Sam. You fucking twat. I try not to curse in my videos, but that was so stupid I had to. And that could just as easily have killed me. And then I would be back, hanging from the ledge, waiting for that guard to move away so he could take a piss. That is how checkpoints work at crushing in this game. So I got really nervous. Really nervous was what I was gonna say. All kinds of sphincters tightened up when that happened. And now we just have one guy left. Unfortunately for us, he is manning a turret. And turrets are usually bad news. But if you move in behind this wall, I thought I was go completely Dirty Harry and try to hit the edge of his hat over the shield. Didn't work. But if you move in behind that little wall, like I'm gonna do now, he will abandon his turret. So then he is out in the open and I get pissed, so I can't beat up Sam, I can't shoot Sam, so I beat him up instead. And now when you killed all these guys, go down there on the left side and check out that crate, see if you can find any dynamite. And also something I maybe should have said before this fight is that you may have seen that there were gas canisters down there. And gas canisters are something that's been with series since... I don't think they were in Uncharted 1. But they were in Uncharted 2, I know. And that is also something you can use as explosives. Throw them up. That sounded wrong. You cannot throw up a gas canister unless you're some kind of machine. Anywho, throw them towards enemies and point your aiming at them and shoot them and they will explode. That is a sentence that made a lot more sense. And now we only have 3 enemies left in this chapter actually, and they're coming up right now, and I managed to act like a complete idiot. This is simply my mistake going into this fight. Because these 2 guys are talking and there is a 3rd guy standing up there overseeing the situation. And if I had picked up dynamite from the previous fight, I could have just thrown in 1 stick, taken out those 2 guys and killed the 3rd guy up on the ledge. Also something I could have done would have been to line up my sight better and shot this guy in the back of his head. Then I would have only had 2 enemies left. But no, instead I shoot him in his upper back. so I end up in this in this gunfight instead. But that is something I've talked about in previous videos, that sometimes things go great, sometimes I aim godlike. If you don't believe me, just watch chapter 7 where everything worked great. Wow, that was a close call. And sometimes you end up with this. And these 2 episodes are recorded during 2 different sittings or sessions.
Let's keep going.
I have no idea what happened to the 3rd guy. I think Sam took him out. Thank you, Sam. You have almost redeemed yourself for messing up in the previous fight. Almost. But since I know now that he will mess up later on again in this game, I'm not gonna forgive him yet. And now we are in a platforming puzzle. And this is also one of those things. In this game I said in my previous video that some of the combat goes on for a little bit too long. It was a problem in Uncharted 1. And there also is a problem in this one. The same goes for some of these platforming sessions. Because what we are doing right now is slowly moving up this hill. We are gonna move back and forth, trying to reach higher platforms, sliding on the gravel. And this sliding puzzle thing actually reminds me a little bit about God of War Ascension. I may have mentioned that in The Lost Legacy, because there were some sections like that in that game as well. But in God of War Ascension, there were these huge giant snakes. Huge giant snakes. Once again, I have mentioned the fact that I'm Swedish, right? That English is not my first language. And if I haven't, then sometimes it becomes quite apparent. Huge giants, like saying unmarried bachelor. But anyway, you have these giant snakes that you're supposed to slide down on. And that was a really fun mechanic, first time you came across it in that game. The 15th time, not so much. And the same thing goes for some of the platforming in this game. Because this section is a little bit too long. They put it in there because they found a new mechanic. Sliding on gravel, yay, really great, really fun. But they take it a little bit too far. And now I realize I sound really negative. I think this is a good game. I don't think it's the best game in the series. Not by far. My favorite is still and has always been the 2nd game. 3rd one is a close second. I think there is a bit too much emphasis on cutscenes in the 3rd game. It plays itself a little bit too much for my liking. But the grenade throwback mechanic makes it a really fun game. So those are my 2 favorite games in the series. I don't want to say that this is my least favorite game, because that spot is taken by The Lost Legacy, actually. And I don't want to sit here and bash the game, because I think it is a good game. Don't get me wrong. And also, here is another little mistake. We're coming up close to the end. And how you move on from this area is through that giant gate. If you go up here, you will find a collectible. See it right there? And don't don't tell me I don't make collectible videos. I have officially showed you the location of one of them. And also, if you noticed in the previous fight where we did the cliffhanger thing, over to the left there is another collectible.
Hey, give me a hand.
But now all we have to do is go through this gate, and this will conclude part 1 of chapter 8. And I hope you have enjoyed it, and that the strategies I used were helpful, and that they will help you. And I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.